Welcome to the Rise Podcast. As you know, we've had some esteemed guests at our event, at our show, at the Rise Podcast. And today I have an esteemed member of the spiritual community, from the coaching community, Robert Simic. I would really like for us to go through this journey together and understand a bit more about Robert's own journey, from not knowing who he is to guiding people in their own journey. Robert and Sara, thank you so much for coming to the Rise Podcast.
Pleasure, man.
Could you please tell our audience a bit about your own journey, Robert, from not knowing who you were to becoming this beacon of light for so many?
It's a kind of straightforward story. I come from very humble beginnings, we say. I was born and raised in Serbia with a lot of limitations, like I think most environments like that. And I always wanted more. So for me, life literally was a chase for a better life. I was raised in the world where those who had were very different than us. So I think I even hated rich people, if that makes sense. And I always wanted to make more and literally chased money my whole life, like literally. War happened, all sorts of things like that. Country went to 300 years backwards in a way. Different countries, different visa issues for all our Serbian friends. And basically one manual labor job to another, from washing cars in Mykonos Island rent-a-car office to night shift assembling parts in Germany, to all sorts of manual labor, because that's the only jobs I could find. I didn't speak English. I didn't have any qualifications of any kind. It was a struggle for most of the part. And eventually I went to South Africa, again from scratch, start again, manual labor, and again just still searching for better life. No spirituality kind of whatsoever. I mean, I was raised in a Christian Orthodox environment, but we didn't go to church. We didn't actually have this strict. So on that path, looking for wealth, looking for better, greener pastures, I used to think grass is greener elsewhere. Now I understand grass is greener where your water is, you know? So from that perspective, very shallow spiritually, very shallow life, and very scientific. I had this scientific brain. So at some point in time on this journey, I learned that my results in my life depend from my beliefs. The only reason I have lack in my life is because of my belief system, the way I was raised. You know, I had this step-grandma, part of our household. She was engraving this in me. You'll never have anything. You'll never have anything. You know, this was her model of the world. And as you know, as kids, we just eventually adopt and buy into those ideas. So I learned I need to change my beliefs to change my life. And that sent me on this journey of looking from psychology to self-help industry to all these things to find a way to change my beliefs. Psychology says, well, you can change some beliefs, but those core ingrained ones, you know, those are you, and you can't change those. You're stuck with those. I didn't like that. So I didn't buy into it, but I had no other options than still looking at it. So books, seminars, events, CDs back then. Basically, it came down to doing affirmations and changing, saying the opposite, basically lying to myself until my body believes in it. Nobody told me it takes about 2 years to actually rewire a belief. You know, it takes a lot of persistence, 3 times a day, using affirmations all day long. For what it's worth, it changed my life. I actually applied a lot of that, and it worked to a certain extent, and my life quality changed a lot, dramatically, I think. Since then, I was hooked. I just bought into this magical nervous system that we have, and I wanted to know more and more about our brain, about nervous system, about body, how this works. Obviously, I opened the Pandora's box. It wasn't just beliefs. We have values, we have attitudes, we have, memories, our baggage from the past, unprocessed negative emotions. We call them traumas sometimes. It's a lot more than just beliefs. So my life since then, not by plan per se, but passion that came upon me was, how do I find a way to change those things? Not for others, mind you. I wanted to do better. I wanted to have an easier life, I guess. So learning one thing, one modality after another, if I fast forward, otherwise I'll give you a 2-hour story about this. If I fast forward, today I'm sitting on this wealth of knowledge and techniques that are all purely designed to create change. So I became some sort of a change expert, if that makes sense. While people still talk about affirmations and how to do this, I go like, oh my God, this was like 2 decades ago. We know so much more scientifically now about our brain and how it works. Changing a belief is a 5-minute process. not years of, trying to change it. Traumas, release, baggage, all those things. I promise you, I know it sounds too good to be true and crazy, but we do have techniques to change any traumatic experience within a few minutes. Hard to swallow for most mainstream, folks, but this is my reality. So I didn't ask for it. I didn't plan any of this, but it became passion. It literally, I think the turning point was I lost my job. The boss in South Africa, I think the term was I got retrenched. He fired me for no reason, but he finally got to retire. His son took over the business and they let me go because I had like 3 salaries comparing to anyone else because I was the business there. So a very rude awakening. Finally, I created the life of my dreams, which was a decent car, our own house, salary, safety, certainty. And then all that got swept away. And I learned that house wasn't mine, it was banks. Car wasn't mine, it was banks. So I was literally very, very rude awakening and back on the street in a way. And I had to reinvent myself. And the only thing I knew how to do was these things that I was passionate about, helping people. So 1 person, 2 people, small workshop, it all started me passing this knowledge I acquired and it really picked up. And I don't know, since then it feels like one day. It feels like time stopped. I found myself in the world where I deeply love what I do what I love. You know that old statement? I don't feel like I'm working. I'm really just feeling deeply grateful and blessed for this journey and where I came. Because if it was up to me, I'd still be in that office having my safe job.
Beautiful. I mean, from going through a journey of actually running towards money, which is what most of us have done.
Running, not towards it, I think chasing it.
chasing it till no end, and then only to realize that it's actually not bringing any emotional fulfillment. My journey has been a little similar, but I won't get into me right now. This is more about you. But you started a life coaching business from there.
Well, mind you, when I started 2 decades ago, I don't think life coaching existed. If you know what I mean, as a trend or as a label even. We were doing some sort of personal development or whatever the category was, therapy, different modalities, different names. Life coaching picked up in last decade or so. I think it became a big thing.
Correct.
So while I do something that this world is kind of not looking for yet, in other words, imagine sitting on a set of knowledge and techniques, science, mind you, science-based, that nobody even dreams it exists. Yeah, back then it didn't exist. So I think in last decade or so, life coaching picked up as a trend, as a thing, and everybody now wants to be a life coach. In fact, to my knowledge, global picture, we have this saying that every other grandma and her dog is a life coach today. They watch an online set of videos over the weekend, mind you, and on Monday they get certification for life coach. So it's been a massive trend. My challenge was what I do, nobody is looking for. If people don't know it exists, they're not going to look for it. So they're looking for life coaching, they're looking for all sorts of things that are, even in nature, often very limited. So I learned over time to kind of position myself, to put myself in front of people who are actually looking for my stuff, but they don't know it exists. So people wanted to become a life coach. I'm like, great. I started promoting life coach training. They don't have a clue that my life coach training has nothing to do with a normal life coach training. They're getting so much more, but they don't know that. Somebody's looking for NLP. Have you heard of neuro-linguistic programming, right? Great, have training for you, NLP training. So it's kind of funny, but this is the only way I could show people what's out there because nobody's actively looking for it. You tell me, who's looking for, hey, on Google, how do I change a belief today? How do I let go of phobia today? How do I let go of my lifelong trauma, my childhood abuse? How do I let go of those things today? Nobody's looking for that. So they're looking for, how do I soften this? Or how do I, somebody to talk to? They're looking for somebody to share this with so they can feel seen, heard, acknowledged, understood. They want to share their suffering. And I'm like, that's lovely. Because we're humans, social, it works. It helps to be in an environment where there's empathy, when those things are present. Big picture, though, it's not very helpful. If I spend 3 hours now with you as my therapist, telling you about reliving that event from the past, telling you all these horrible things somebody's done to me, mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So while I'm reliving this memory, I'm accessing those emotions again. I'm re-traumatizing myself. This happened years ago, but I'm reliving it right now. Body doesn't know the difference. in most of it, I'm not really, I how do I say this? There are many modalities and everybody's doing the best they can with what they've got. So no judgment when I speak this way, if you know what I mean. In many of those therapy circles, they just don't know any better, so they're doing what makes sense to them. Therapists would listen to that whole story. Mind you, affect their minds too. All I know, if they buy into the horror of that story, they'll feel also heavy emotions for this person. Sometimes they are under the impression they're feeling their pain. Empathy, empathetic people. So it works to a level where end of that session, this person feels better because, again, they've been seen, heard, connected, not alone, whatever they get out of it. But long term, that's not a solution. Nothing's changed. They just re-traumatized themselves and felt better because of these other benefits. But they go home and trauma is still there. So my approach is, how about we get to the root cause of the problem, understand what creates this in your life, and overcome it. But techniques that we have is overcome it now. So when people come to us saying, hey, I want to talk about this, I'm like, wait a minute. Do you want to talk about it? Or are you ready, willing to change, if it was possible? I know it's not possible, but if it was possible, would you be keen to go all the way and change? Because frankly, I'm not interested, as a coach myself also, I'm not interested in spending hours or days or months or years with you as a client and not helping you. I'm kind of not empowering you. I'm not helping you change, shift. I'm enabling you actually to stay there. So while it's comforting, it's not what's needed if you have these skills. So I'm very clear about it up front, in terms of my circle of, hey, I'm in it if you're into this. You're not into change, you just want to talk about it, great, hire someone else. I can't, I refuse to do that to myself because I wasn't useful. So that's the difference. I kind of lost train of thought how we got to this point.
That's how it is to be in the flow state, but you dropped some really good truth bombs in what you said, because even in my own journey of actually hosting Rise as an event, I dealt with almost 150 motivational speakers and healers, only to realize each and every one of them had their own self-worth issues, their own traumas, and were projecting onto people that were on stage or doing better for themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're always learning, we're always growing. But then when you project, you need to realize that, is it coming from the soul or is it my ego that's actually projecting onto that person? And that's where the journey of introspection comes through. So beautifully said, because when we go through this entire journey, another thing about you being a life coach, as you said, you don't want to be with people or take clients on board that you think you can't help. And that's beautiful. Whereas most of them are there to get money, that's one thing, to make something of themselves because they've been projected on by their family members by saying, what are you doing? Who needs your services? No one really needs. And then you want to prove it to them and you try and onboard as many people by lying to yourself, thinking that you can help them and then getting frustrated when you can't. Another thing you amazingly said was being present. Only when we're present and not living in the head is when we're able to grasp what the other person is sharing, make them feel seen, understood, heard, which is what most of us are running away from. Why? Because let's have the phone in our hands. Let's not talk to each other. Let's not communicate the things that we need to. So the fact that you said that you actually respect your own energy, that is an important aspect and facet of self-love. When you know yourself, when you love yourself enough to say, I know my energy, I know what I'm capable of doing, I know how I've helped myself. If the other person doesn't respect that, I don't respect it myself, then I'm actually not being true to myself. And that actually is the downfall for all of us. So thank you for sharing that. What, again, got you into life coaching? You could have had an amazing job, chasing money.
Until they fired me.
until they fired you.
Life was a journey of creating that safety and security. Like as a kid, I was raised like, hey, study hard, get good grades, so you can have a safe job, So when I created that eventually, really lost myself in it. Like I can go on holiday. I really didn't have any financial problems. Mind you, I wasn't, by any standards today, I didn't have a great life necessarily, car from the bank, all those things. But I had a holiday, I go to work, I come home, no worries, financial nature. But it was all an illusion. That level of certainty was a complete illusion because my financial well-being or my financial future pretty much depended on someone else. So that was like I said, rude awakening. And one of the things I learned, many things, but one of the things I learned from that is that I'll never give my financial future into someone else's hands. It was like a little bit of a moment to like, hey, let's not do this again kind of thing. Other things I learned is that back then, this was the worst day of my life. Back then I had a partner, and when I was going home, I couldn't tell her that this happened. How do you come home to your partner and say, I don't have a job now? As in, it's easy to say though, but the follow-up is, I don't know what to do now, was excruciating for my male brain, that for 5 days I was driving to work and back, trying to the tiger inside of me kind of woke up, but I didn't have a solution. I didn't know how I'm going to reinvent myself and fix this, because I brought us in this situation. So back then I labeled it as a horrible event. I was not upset. I think I was enraged. God knows what helped me to not break some legs or make some crazy damage, because I felt betrayed. I felt all those beautiful feelings, victim completely, because they did this to me, and it was injustice, it was unfair, and I built this business for them because when I came, they had nothing. It was really unfairness of a note, and I hated it, and I was not disappointed, I was enraged. And we do this as people. We go through experience in life, we label it as negative, as bad, we feel the feelings of our labels. Little we know that sometimes there's this thing called blessing in disguise. I think you're familiar with the label. Today, if you ask me about that same event in my life, I'll go, hey, I walked in just after Christmas, January, back to work, and dude fires me. He opens his mouth, he says what he said. I can tell you the whole event, nothing changed. Memory is exactly the same. And yet my relationship with the memory is entirely different. I didn't lose my memory, I didn't forget it. I can quote what he said. I feel blessed, I feel gratitude. If I were to meet this man, I used to say this, by the way, every once in a while, I tell this story, and I go like, if this man walked into my room now, I'd kiss him all over the place. I'm genuinely, deeply grateful. I learned recently, he passed away, so I don't think I'll ever see him. But the idea is that this is now that same event, with no change whatsoever, that same event, my body perceives it as a blessing in disguise. That was the crucial point, and I can't even take you like I decided, I woke up one day and I decided to change my life. No, they did it to me, I had no choice, so I can't really take credit for it from that perspective. I was pushed, forced into this thing, and then all these things followed. So it was a blessing in disguise. I just never knew. And we often go through, God knows how many blessings in disguise we've had in life,
of course,
but we're still seeing it bad until time shows us the difference.
Every time I've been through a similar situation or gone through situations like that, and I felt like people betrayed me, only to realize that maybe I was betraying myself to be in that situation when I knew it wasn't best for me, because our intuition is always guiding us, right? Only later, when you get time to introspect, self-reflect, going through your journey, you were meant for bigger and better things. And it wasn't filling your light. And that's when it rejected you. That's when they say rejection is sometimes God's protection. In that sense, of course, for you to spend that time with yourself, because I know from a soul side, a soul perspective, you wanted more for yourself. It wasn't satisfying you. That false sense of security, which a lot of us are programmed to create around us. I am no stranger to that. I remember just before COVID or during COVID, when everyone was afraid, I was gathering as much as things I could, watches, cars, properties, feeling, okay, only to realize when I had my awakening, none of this made sense. None of this actually added any value. Tomorrow, if I pass away or stop breathing, what's any of this going to do, right? And that is where that rude awakening, sometimes only to realize years down the line, is, I'm blessed. Thank you for that lesson. And as you said, kissing that person.
I'd kiss him all over the place.
Want to punching the shit out of him. You built an institute from scratch. Did you ever feel like chucking it all and moving to a beach hut? Or was it smooth sailing?
I'd say yes. But I don't think I ever had that thought. But I would say yes if I could only afford to move to a beach hut. So most of my driving force back then was still in this survival mode and still like out of necessity, out of need. So even when I acquired certain skills, from NLP back in the day, there's some really quick fixes, we call them, like instant change, verifiable. It's an amazing thing for personal development industry. They still don't dream about instant change. Even my first clients was always like, hey, I need to get paid. Right? It was like, we make the change, client goes, oh my God, I can't believe pain is gone, or whatever the issue was. And I go, I'm getting paid. I had such level of dissociation. This heart business you're talking about? What heart business? I was in it to make money. I was in it to earn my safety, if you know what I mean, to secure myself. And I can tell you actually what made a difference on that note. I think it's an important topic for me. I had a lady calling me on the phone saying, hey, you're the coach, heard this and that. Could you help me? What the problem is, my Serbian language says what the problem is. And she says, I have a 16-year-old daughter. She's depressed. And she said she's been to everybody in town, she actually said she's already seen every bearded guy in the town. And I'm like, so I kind of understood what she means. And she says the last thing she needs right now is for me to take her to another guy. Can you help? Can you promise? Are you sure? I'm like, whoa. And mind you, this was my early stages of having these skills. What we can do now, it's even better. But back then, I was like, shit, this sounds serious, because the way she described it, when I say 16-year-old girl, what's the picture in your head? Without problems, though. What's the 16-year-old girl in your head? How does that look like?
Well, someone that's just going through her life, being with friends, trying to figure out who she is, dating men.
But energy and this aliveness inside of them, full of hormones, this vortex of energy, that's how I see them in my head. This is complete opposite. She says, my daughter is a veggie. Last 3-4 years, she said, school stopped. Meaning she went, whatever happened in her life, she shut down, she became veggie. Many therapies, many medications, all sorts of things. Now, 4 years later, mom is not giving up and she's still looking for help. Because she got a certain amount of help. Her daughter's not suicidal, but this is her day. She wakes up in the morning, she sits on her bed, she's pretty much staring at the wall for most of the day. Come 4 or 5 p.m., she bursts into tears and it's crying till late at night. And her mom is watching this, her own child suffering this way. I think for us parents, this is the one of those tough ones. Your kid is suffering and you're just not equipped to help them. I think it's quite a challenging thing for parents, right? So she is reaching out. She is not giving up, but she doesn't want to waste her time or take her daughter to another relationship of some sort. Can you promise? I'm like, dude, how do I guarantee? Who in the world will promise that? But I figured, I've got some really cool skills. It's worth a shot for sure. So obviously no guarantee, but I gave her enough inspiration that it could be very useful, So she comes over. Now watch this. I don't know how you'll take this. Mom goes to a room next door. I had a little setup like this. So room next door, I put her mom on headphones. And those CDs back then? With I think today we would call them meditation CDs, guided meditation or whatever, binaural beats, so it evokes certain brainwaves in your head, so naturally you relax or completely zone out. Mom needed a rest, if you know what I mean. So I get mom to lie down on a couch, headphones on, and mom went to a la-la land, right? I'm in this room wanting to coach this girl. And mind you, I have this idea that mom saying, hey, here's my kid, has a problem, fix her. I don't have a client yet. I need the person that I need to work with, have awareness, I have a problem, and I wish it was different. Without that, I don't have a client. All I know, mom has a problem. You know what I mean? So getting this out of you, you want to be a client, you gotta show me that you're willing to do whatever it takes. With somebody in that state, I'm not going to get her to jump up and down and convince me that she wants to be helped, right? I got the softest yes out of her, like if it was possible to overcome all this, would you be interested? I asked her like 17 times in different ways, and eventually she goes, yes, okay. Prior to that moment, I didn't have a client. So technically speaking, 1 hour and 15 minutes later, that same girl comes out of this state, jumps, she kind of shocked me, she jumps, storms through the door. I'm thinking rush to bathroom or something. No, she goes straight from my room into mom's room. And mind you, when somebody is in this state of trance in a way, like meditation,
state,
last thing you want to do is shock them, loud noise, she storms in, mom jumps like this, And she goes, I'm hungry, let's eat something. Now, look, I get goosebumps. Look, every time I tell this story, I witnessed this, and now, again, another thing for coach brain, or a man brain, really. We men, we are like emotional or logical, as in like, we can't really do both at the same time. It needs to be a match, okay? While ladies, given their wiring, their neurology, they can actually do better multitasking. They can do all sorts of things. Their two hemispheres are much more connected. So I was observing something nobody ever prepared me for, okay? Mom gets up, she's shocked by this, she comes to her senses, she's looking at her daughter standing upright and rather full of vigor, like, hey, let's eat something, I'm hungry. Mom starts crying. So, because you seem happy, and then she starts crying. Now her daughter starts crying. I'm like, shit, done. Then they start laughing. Now they're hugging, laughing, and crying at the same time. My man brain was, I'm getting paid, no, I'm not getting paid. I'm getting paid, I'm not getting paid. It was, because I had this thing from back then. I need to make a difference. I need to earn my money. So I will get paid up front, but I guarantee results. If you wasted your time with me and you tell me it just wasn't worth it, I'll give you your money back. That was my way of handling objections, really. so people would come and check it out.
And that's fair. I think that's
okay.
Good, yeah.
So I was leaving results behind me, and I was happy to be paid for that energy exchange, whatever you want to call it. So now watch this. I'm like, I'm getting paid. I'm not getting paid. I'm getting paid. I was that dissociated. No real heart in it. I was doing even this to make money. I need to pay my bills, right? What nobody prepared me for, Mom turns, she looks at me, and she comes forward, 2 steps really, small office. She comes forward and she hugged me like this. Nobody ever hugged me with like she put her clothes, I can't explain it, and I'm like, okay. Hugs, today I hug anybody. Yeah. Back then, hugging was weird for me, right? She hugs me, I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm like, what now? She starts sobbing here. Literally, I was wet here. She sobs, and then she whispers through this, says, thank you for giving me my daughter back. And something happened. I feel it again now. Something happened for me in that moment. I think I discovered this new vibe, this new need. It became a need later on. We call it contribution, I think, in English. And I just never knew that before. I mean, mind you, I was always a nice guy, I think. I would help a granny cross the road. I won't charge her for it. But this level of meaning, I think that the more meaningful it is for them, the more use I get. So all these stories of, people, humanitarian, helping others, on some level, and please forgive me if this comes out wrong, speaking to your audience, on some level, you're not really doing it for them. You're doing it because that thing that you get, that you're enjoying it so much, giving, sharing, contributing, helping others, if that fulfills you and inspires you, that's why you're doing it. If it was so painful, would you really be so keen doing it all the time? You know what I mean? So we always get something back, although we don't label it that way, or not even perhaps relate to it that way. I discovered this new energy, this new emotion, let's call it contribution, and from there on, it became a need. It changed my life absolutely. I became associated, and I learned all sorts of things much later than, again, about heart-brain coherence, living from the heart, all those things. I was as dissociated as it gets, I think. Today, I think I'm the most huggy person I know. It's like, hey, so it's all from here. Today, I truly feel like I make all decisions from here. So it's very different, that journey of mine, from completely dissociated, money-deprived struggle to completely shifting. How can I serve? How can I help? Yeah, I had to get paid, right? But aside, I think when you earn enough, when your needs are met, what's wrong with earning more? What's wrong with being in a position to advertise, reach even more people, to help? What's wrong with being in a position to financially help someone else? I can't describe to you the gift of eventually making enough money that I could go back home, pick up my sister and my mom from the street. They were struggling to pay rent all the time. It's always a struggle, right? I put them in a home. Can't describe you the feeling of being able to do that, Sure. But when I stopped chasing money showed up. I can't almost like, hey, you're not chasing me anymore. Where are you? I think it then found me.
Yes.
It's a very different experience for me in life itself. Because even whatever I made, I had a nice Audi, for example, back then in South Africa. I'm in a traffic light. I'm like stressed because I have so many things, right? The beggar comes, on the traffic light. They call it robots there. Traffic light, the homeless guy comes, like asking for a handout, right? And I looked at him, and he just stayed with me. This guy, in his composure, mind you, ripped clothes. He has no home. I can promise you that. He had this beautiful calmness about the smile on his face, and I got like hypnotized then in a moment. I was like, huh? Traffic went green, I pulled off, and it stayed for me, I think, for the rest of the day. I was like, what? It took me time to figure this out. So watch this. I was like, am I cursed for no matter what I have, it's not enough, I need more? Or is he so shallow, poor thing, he seems grateful, or I don't know, he seems content, even though he doesn't even have a roof over his head. And it chased me, this thought. I really struggled for I don't know how long. Time is an issue for me. I don't know how long I struggled with this debate within myself, who got it wrong. So it took me a while to understand that it's in our nature to want more. Look at the nature, everything is for expansion, constant growth, expansion. It's totally natural and normal. Wanting more, perfectly aligned with our nature. Needing more, communicating, not understanding, abundance, complete opposite frequency, vibration. So you repel all the goodness that's actually available.
100%. I think the problem has also been that people always were chasing what they want since they were a child, whereas the needs weren't met, the basic needs. And that's when people struggle with the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where they live in the survival state, no matter how much money they have. In their mind, it's always, I need more and more and more and more. Only when you go a little over, then it goes about relationships. But it also goes to show that the clients that you actually helped ended up helping you too.
Oh, every one of them.
They were your biggest teacher to become a better version of yourself, because when you are able to help and guide somebody, that fulfillment, because as a man, we're here to give value. We're here to serve, right? Men are the ones that are sacrificed for most part, but no one wants to talk about it because society has made us look as the enemy. Moving on to our second guest, Sara. You work very close with Robert, and you've very nicely put, Robert sees people for their soul, right? But I also want to ask you, because Robert just mentioned something about healing a little girl who was suffering with depression. Now, you're a grown woman, but there is a little child, a little girl within you as well, which obviously Robert saw. Could you tell a bit about your own experience as to how you discovered who you truly are and how you helped others?
Yeah, absolutely. It will be my pleasure. Okay, so I guess it would have started off as a child, having my own traumas, my own limiting beliefs, and all this, opinion of who I am, what my identity is, and that created my external world. In coaching, we always say your internal world creates your external world. So that was very much reflected in my external world from 16 years old, looking for my worth in men. I'll speak very frankly and openly, right? It doesn't mean I was with 100 partners.
No holds barred.
2 very long-term partners in my life, really, before Robbie. But I was always looking for that worth. I think people, they know somewhere inside that they are fully worthy and infinitely worthy. It's how we come into the world, really. We talk about this in training, like babies come into the world, full of confidence, full of love. It's the natural state of being, right? And when you lose that connection, you create things in your external world to try and reconnect to it. So I think that's what I was doing. So attracting very traumatized men and things like this who I'm still friends with them till today, and they've been my biggest teachers in my life. But it was very evident in my life that there was a lot of me, a lot of trauma, a lot of emotional baggage that needed to be let go of. And at that time, I didn't know why this was happening. Or just like, you have all these beliefs. My mum said I was born under an unlucky star because I came around blue with a cord around my neck. And, these things imprint to us, like maybe that's just me. These things happen, my brother and sister are very lucky. That's just my hand in life. So very disempowered. We teach cause and effect as one of the first things Robert teaches at training, and it teaches you empowerment to take responsibility of everything in your life. And I was wanting it. I think along the way and through the suffering, I was growing a lot. I don't believe you need to suffer to grow necessarily, but through the suffering, I grew massively. You know, I really learned what was important. I connected to my own self-worth. You know, those patterns will keep repeating in your life until you actually get what life's trying to teach you, you know? So I was the queen of that, attracting all the nonsense to me. I probably give me all the crap. I want to learn. I want to grow. And I think it was for my 40th birthday that my brother, is probably one of the smartest people I've ever met and wisest, was like, I've had enough of this, you know, you need to go to Robert. I'm like, you know, I'd heard of him, his family friends with my brother, through my brother. So he was like, I'm gifting you Robert's course for your birthday. Go, I've had enough of you creating all this drama in your life. I'm like, me creating all this drama? I'm like, no, they were the traumatized ones, right? Like, it's nothing to do with me. You know, I couldn't see it, you know, I'm just, you know, like, I'm kind, I'm trying to help people. I see the light in people, I see the good in them, like all these misconceptions, you know. So we went to the training, I think it was on the second day. And mind you, with these traumatized people and being by their side for like over 20 years by that time, I'd been in countless therapists' office, psychologists, all kinds of modalities, name anything. It didn't work. It wasn't working for the people around me, and it wasn't affecting me. I didn't know I was in those rooms for me. You know, I thought it was for them. It wasn't working. On the second day at lunchtime, I remember going up to Robert and saying to him, you know, my brother said my life would change during this training. I didn't know he meant by day 2 lunchtime. You know, I think I had been through enough in my life at that time to just be like, oh my God, this guy gets it. He has like the keys to my freedom. So if I was like a prisoner in my mind and not even knowing things, like one example, Robert talks about chronic anxiety and what anxiety is, right? And people used to come to me and say, you know, I'm on medication for anxiety. And I'd genuinely be like, you know, poor thing, that must be really tough, you know, for them going through something really bad. And he explained like anxiety is when you go into the future and you imagine an event ending negatively. And I was like, oh my God, I've been living with chronic anxiety my entire life. And because my focus was always on what I didn't want, or what happens if this happens now? What happens if he cheats again? What happens if this happens? You know, I was creating that in my life. And it was just such a life was never the same again for me after, I think, day 1 of training. So I had my own huge transformation during that training. And I had like 1.5 years before that, my brother had guided me through a holotropic breathwork session, and I think I was completely reborn. I'd been meditating twice. It's until I came to the training. So pieces were starting to fall into place. But the wisdom that you get into that in that training room, like, I think you can't explain it till you're there, but then wisdom is not enough. So I understood everything. Wow, great. I still have the programming. So that programming creates 95% of my results. So now what? So then we did all the release techniques and everything. And I'm like, you know what? After the training, my entire life, internal world is different. Everything changed in my external world, everything, you know? So I started living my dream life, really. And I was like, how do I not spread this to others, you know? So that's also my passion and my joy now. And yeah.
It's very contagious once you experience, again, personally, and I guess it's not for everyone, but for like-hearted people, this thing, man, when you touch someone's life on that level, on that plane, I don't know if anything else I could be doing with my time that will give me the same amount of this juice. That's the time when I feel most alive. That's the time when I feel like I'm honoring my purpose. Like, this is why I'm here. You know, that kind of thing. If it was something else, more fun, more exciting, I think I'd be doing that.
Of course.
And it's very cool, like how every training, there'll be girls in the training room and they hear about my story. They see me and Robert, the way we interact together. And they're like, wait, you used to be like me in relationships? You used to be needy, wanting, insecure, all these things. They're like, you know, they feel the energy. Like, I love our relationship, don't get me wrong. But however, if it has to end for any reason, or there's no fear associated with it, I'm free. And they see that, you know, I'm enjoying it. I love it, but I'm free. You know, that anxiety is not there anymore.
It's a choice. It's a choice you make every day. It's not, no one's forcing you to be together. You're doing this together. But you also work with different clients, as well. You're helping women out. You assist Robert in his own ways, and you take people out. I remember you telling me that when people are overwhelmed with what Robert does, because sometimes looking within is a shock, you then assist to take them out, calm them, nurture them, and bring them in, which is a very good aspect of the masculine and feminine energy working together, not competing but collaborating, right? You said something about living in anxiety and attracting similar partners. This is something that most women experience. Every time I post a video where I'm talking about women, look within yourself, know your own power, the first thing I get told is, yeah, but men aren't doing their job. I'm like, hold on. We're pointing fingers again, right? We came here to live harmoniously, men and women together. There's no us fighting against each other. That, to me, is what the societal programming has done, where we're starting to look at the other person and say, who the hell does he think he is? Or who the hell does he think she is to be able to glow in this, have this amazing aura around her? But then at the same time, you're inspiring people. They get attracted, they get allured to that energy. And that's when it goes down to everything is energy, right? What got you to decide to say, okay, I am now capable to lead other women and get out of their own way? Because your journey was your journey, right? How can you then correlate with others to help them?
I don't think I was obviously we're really well trained. So when you see somebody struggling, we know what techniques you can easily do to take them out of that. So how do you not help? Somebody drops something, you want to pick it up. So it's simple in that sense. But becoming that role for women, and it's still evolving. I don't say, I'm this, like beacon of light for women. I would love to be, and I'm still learning all the time. But in the training room, it's like the energetic thing. I think they feel it, they see it, they hear my story, and they can see that it's authentic. Like, I'm whole within myself now, and that's why I can experience such an amazing love, I think. And they gravitated towards me, I would say, like in the breaks, can I have a word? And then it just started from there. And it's a passion. And I feel like because I experienced it, I can own it authentically. And then whatever I can pass on, if they're ready, is a pleasure.
Nice. The question for both of you, and you can take turns in answering this, with everyone on a quest to find themselves lately, what's your take on people actually figuring out who they are versus jumping on the latest self-help trend? Because we all start there at some point, right? Even you started at self-help books and understanding, but then the core of finding yourself.
Look, there's a surface answer and there's a deeper one. I'm just wondering which one do you want? Deeper.
Let's go deep today.
Well, what is self? What is that self that we refer to in this context? Most people, when they say myself, I found myself, or I'm looking for myself, presupposition is that you don't know who you are, and then now you got to find that out. In this context, self, the idea of self, is a construct, and it's again based on your self-image, your belief system. Again, back to this conditioning, this wiring. Really quick, if I can, we all came into this world as babies, most of us, right? and if you look at the baby's default setting, should I say? Because mind you, I believe that we are created. I think somebody designed this thing. Okay, so by design, most natural, normal, default state for all of us is this baby stuff. Before we got exposed to our environment, our upbringing environment from our nest to the world bigger than that. So before that, we didn't know how to be human. We didn't know what money is. We didn't know what relationships are. We didn't know anything. We learned it from our environment, right? So when I look at, and I find a lot of inspiration in this domain. When you look at a baby, what is baby's default state? When go crying. No, wait a minute. Baby's crying only when they have pain, when they have an itch, discomfort, hunger, and they cry out for help. We show up, we fix it. They're also masters at changing state, mind you. Okay? Full-on cry, right? Because bum is burning. We show up, wipe it off in a second. Pain is gone. Baby goes, instant change. You'd agree with that, right? Masters a changing state.
They don't hold on to things.
You haven't seen a baby who, I don't know, 3 days later starts crying and you go, what's up? You know, and it goes, oh, 3 days ago it was burning. You know, they don't do that.
Exactly.
It's a learned, is what I'm saying. It's not our default thing to actually carry our past and reliving, you know, and be in that moment. So our natural state, our default state for human beings is that baby state. And I'm an observed baby without pain. You know, there's this either Buddha kind of Zen mode or this awe, thirst, curiosity, passion, goosebumps again. This is us by default. Everything else that followed from there has been imposed onto us. We got it either through sheer, you know, indoctrination or whatever you want to call it. We embodied it from our environment as in terms of content, but also energetically, right? This world of energy we live in is influencing us all the time. So we will learn and model our parents, our nest, then we'll expand it to social life. Then the DJ guy knows more than my parents, you know. So I'll acquire all sorts of knowledge, beliefs, and build my own attitudes and relationships with the world and with myself. If my parents were very lost and not healthy inside, which model did I adopt? You know, like I love this picture, little boy, because relationships is an ongoing topic always. Little boy in a crib, not having a clue about masculine, feminine, jobs, money, nothing, right? He's just observing this world. There's no content per se. Father shows up next to the mom, hugs her, looking at their little baby. He gives a little smooch. This little boy in the crib, no clue about relationships or any of those roles, is recording this program.
Sponge.
Okay, like a little sponge. No content, no meaning yet. So later on in life, when language shows up and meanings are clear, he activates that program. This boy back then was learning how to treat his woman one day. You know, that was where the programming comes from. So our childhood from 0 to 7 years old, we are a little sponge walking around just taking all this data in. And then we become it, okay? It determines our thinking, all this automatic thinking. 95% of all our thinking is habitual, right? So all our thinking, all our self-image, all our confidence, everything you can think of comes from that place. We call it conditioning. And it's unconscious. It's automated, therefore it's effortless. So we're not part of it, it's just happening for us. So we draw our sense of self and our sense of identity through those beliefs, okay? The moment I help you change a belief, if you want to change one, you experience yourself as someone else. So the trick around this is, in terms of my relationship with it, is that when are you then your true self? You know, a lot of people, and especially in self-development industry, they come to us saying, hey, I want to become who I'm meant to be. I want to become something. And yet the journey, if you observe it from a side, it really doesn't look like you acquiring skills and becoming more. My processes, at least, you know, my method is actually a journey of you unbecoming who you weren't in the first place.
Correct.
Is it making sense?
Yes.
So the idea is, yeah, I'm going to make a book one day. It's just that was like 10 years ago. Because it's a really nice title, Unbecoming Who You Weren't. Because it's really all. I don't want to know what you want. I don't care what your goals are until I help you clear up the mess or clear up the baggage and all these limitations you acquired. Because even your wants and dreams are coming from that place. So what I prefer doing is no judgment. Let me take you through the process. Let me show you first, educate you how it works so you understand a little bit. You change the relationship with your own nervous system to begin with. You go back in the body, you know, reactivate your story with the heart and all those things. But that's in theory a beautiful thing. Can they do it? Well, it depends from their conditioning. You know, so I go and take them on a journey to clean up all the unprocessed negative emotions. I don't know, it's a technical term. I mean, all this piled up baggage. You know, sadness I didn't process. I kept bearing it, piling it up. And now some people walk around having a very short fuse. You know what I mean?
Body keeps score.
Basically full of baggage, right? It's a very short fuse. One drop does it, right? So that lifelong acquired piled up baggage is something that I see as a major thing that's preventing people to even follow this conversation, to be in this space, to think differently. They can't. They don't have that choice. Okay? So us helping them release all the piled up sadness, anger, fear, hurt, guilt, shame. Give me an emotion This is the too good to be true part. Give me 5 minutes. I'll help you let go of any of all those emotions from your past. Not messing with your ability to do sadness. No. Just releasing what body wants to release and not carry anymore. Correct. Imagine from childhood till now, from beginning of time, releasing all the piled up sadness and anger and all those emotions. What does it do for your psyche or sense of self? And then did you become somebody new, or are you becoming who you were before all this jamming, right? So that obviously influences massively beliefs and any conditioning. It's one word, but there's a big structure underneath, from beliefs, attitudes, values. There's quite a few different filters, I call them. We can address any one of those, clean them up, then you tell me who you are. I don't look at you, go, oh, you are. No, I don't have an opinion. I look you in your eyes, I kind of, the expression is I see your soul, whatever you want to call it. I do my best to stay away from labels even. I feel like I look them in the heart, and that thing that I see that all of us have is something they don't see themselves when they look in the mirror. And I often find, you mentioned energy and that state, it really acts like a catalyst to create an environment when they heal from within. It wakes them up in a way from within. So to me, that's what needs to happen for one to even have a discussion about who am I. We're making decisions about life, important decisions, from financial to relationships to everything. We don't even know where we come from.
So true, 100%. I think for most people, it's not about, when they ask who they are, they try to associate themselves with the roles they play in people's lives rather than who they truly are. So if you were to just remove all these roles that you play, the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the husband, the wife, whatever it is, and then you ask yourself, who am I? What is it that I'm here to do? If there was no restrictions or projections onto me, if there was no limitations, what did I really want to do? And that's what people find really hard to do, because, the pattern of always wanting to be surrounded by people, feel valued.
Reconfirming our identity.
Correct. Validating, having others validate who we are is what keeps us stuck in situations that we shouldn't be holding on to.
All these identities. I remember this one line from The Untethered Soul, and it says, he was talking about, you can hear all this chatter in your head and this self-talk, and talking about, knowing who you are inside. So if you're listening to this voice in your head, who's listening?
Exactly.
And this was
who's that one?
You're not the voice in your head, you're the one who's listening.
Yeah.
Right? That's self-talk,
huge.
the observer.
Yeah.
During my own spiritual awakening, I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I'm going crazy.
Many do.
And I'm like, what is going, and even though I was built in with a level of awareness, but then when the veil lifts, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Are these really my friends? Have I been giving to the wrong people my entire life? Because then you start to notice this is draining your energy. You become sensitive to a lot of things around you, and people don't get that. And I was then called, you're depressed.
Yeah.
Why are you isolating yourself? Maybe go see someone, a therapist or something.
Yeah.
So.
And these women that you were saying, that was like they're messaging you and saying, no, but it's his fault and this and that and everything. See, this is the thing, before you've processed all of that, you understand your anatomy and your brain and how we process and how we hold on to conditioning. And when we're still in victimhood, very importantly, everything is, remember, your external world is a reflection of your internal, but theirs isn't yet. It was because of him, not me. He's doing this. And yes, with the masculine, feminine dance, every man wants to be treated like a king. See, it comes out, the masculine, Every woman wants to be treated like a queen. And they're like, oh, but he's like this, he's like that. So number one, it's important, I think, to find your match, first of all, because if somebody is not in alignment with you and is walking all over your boundaries, it's your responsibility to walk away. If you still have somebody like that in your life, whether it's a man or a woman, it's your responsibility to keep your environment healthy. So that's number one. Once you have the healthy environment and you have a partner that matches you, women at training, someone says, no, I don't want to massage him all the time and cook for him. And, that's very like sexist and stuff. But I think it's like that natural masculine and feminine dance. You want to treat your man like a king when everything's in harmony. And I think that's the key. It's not an act, I hate cooking. This one even has me wanting to cook for him now. My mum thinks I've lost the plot.
It's called power of suggestion.
Like, what did you do to me? He's a master hypnotist. You hypnotized me. But it becomes this natural dance, and you step outside of that identity that you thought you were, and you start wanting to do those things. So it comes naturally. It's not like you have to put on this thing, oh, you need to go and massage your man when he comes home. No, but when everything's in alignment and there's such a flow, like he does so much for me, you want to give back naturally. And then I think it just sinks in.
I love the fact you said it's a natural thing. For when a woman is in her feminine state, she wants to nurture the masculine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That's the thing. And, people have this misconception. We have both energies within us.
Yeah, of course.
Masculine and feminine. The creative side, the intuitive side is the feminine. The masculine is more of the doing, the breaking through barriers. And we have to find that balance within ourselves. And that's what it is to be whole. So when you balance those energies within you, and you've done the same, or guided others to do that, that's what embodies the yin and the yang, the circle of life. And this is important for people to understand, because people just associate, oh, I'm a woman, I need to be feminine. No, but you also have a masculine trait. And I see energy.
They say one of the biggest things with a woman being in a relationship with a man, they say that divine feminine is meant to bring out the shadow for the man. Now, if she is only feminine and she doesn't have some of that masculinity, she won't be able to call him on his stuff necessarily.
True. Setting the boundaries, and I think when we get out of this whole state of victimhood and competition and understand, okay, why am I here? To compete with women, to abuse them, or actually protect, nurture, support, be that rock for them to come back to. Mother Nature is all about change in emotions, the tornadoes, the cyclones, and the masculine is the rock. When she's done doing her thing, she's going to come back into that state of being close and within that. So going back to the question I said, where you said that he sees people for their soul. Are there things that you wished you unsaw or didn't see in people?
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. When you realize that the world outside of you is meaningless. Take a moment on that one. In a positive sense, I mean it. I don't mean the world is meaningless. I understood scientifically that the meaning happens in our brains. So me seeing you now, seeing the microphone, seeing shoes, that's physical stuff, energy outside of me, but my brain is assigning it a meaning. So that means that whatever I witnessed, saw, my brain gave it that meaning. So I saw what my brain needed me to see or wanted me to see. Mind you, we see through our filters. Remember, we see through our past. Past gives, that's where we find the meanings. So if you know that everything in life is happening for you and through you, and you are seeing the stuff, your own stuff that you're supposed to see and learn from it ideally, or whatever the intention is, then you realize there are no bad things outside of your brain. There's this beautiful Chinese story. Do you have time for Chinese stories?
Of course, please.
Okay. Very, very extreme poverty kind of thing. People are living off the land, but they're struggling. All right, that kind of environment somewhere in China a long time ago. And there was this old man and his little son, and they lived in this little household. So one day, mind you, everybody in the neighborhood knew that this old man, he has a weird attitude. He was a weirdo, right? A big fair came to town. There's these few villages, so in the middle of it, they put a big fair. And one of those things that they put up there is, like a tombola, like a lotto. Mm-hmm. You buy the ticket, and one of you will win a prize, right? And the prize was a big horse, big stallion, big wild horse. Back in the day, having a horse, owning a horse as part of the household, that's like today having a Lamborghini or Ferrari in the garage. So it was a massive wealth overnight if you were to win the lottery. So the little kid is like, Daddy, please, get the ticket. And he was like, come on, coin was a very big deal for them. But, kid kind of bent his arm and he does it. He bought the ticket. 3 days later, everybody gets together and now they're, pulling the tickets out, and they pull his ticket out and he wins the horse. Can you imagine the neighbors? Oh my God, Chinese, good fortune, such a good fortune, blessed you, you're so blessed, you're so fortunate. And while everybody was ecstatically happy, the old man, having the weird attitude, remember? He was like, nah, okay, good fortune, bad fortune, one never knows, right? So they're like, weirdo, right? Son was ecstatic, son was very happy. So they take this horse home, and that night, mind you, where do I put the horse? So they built a little fence, put some boards together to kind of fence this thing, so to have for the horse to be in. Next morning, they wake up in the morning early. The little boy running out to see his horse, and to his surprise, there's no horse. They built a very poor fence kind of thing. Horse went right through it. Neighbors came in the morning to see the horse again, right? Like, check out my Lamborghini, right? They come out and there's no horse. They learned it escaped, it ran away, and they go, oh my God, such a bad fortune. Like what misfortune, what happened, poor you. The old man, seemingly unaffected, good fortune, bad fortune, one never knows. It was really upsetting for neighbors to watch this man having this weird attitude in life. The kid was kind of shattered, like, but he had a horse, right? 6 days passed. On the next morning, on the 7th day, the kid comes out in the morning, and there is 6 beautiful horses in front of the yard. Whoa! And one of them being the original one, the stallion, right? I'm translating. I don't know. The horse went to his family in the wilderness and said, "Hey, free food, come with me." I don't know. So he brought them back, right? Now they learned from their mistakes, right? So they built and they had a whole day to do it. So they built a nice big stable fence, whatever. And neighbors, oh my God, can you imagine now suddenly I don't have one Lamborghini, I have like 7 of them, like 6. So they went, oh my God, we knew from beginning that horse, such a good fortune. Look what wealth he brought you. They're ecstatic. The old man seemingly unaffected either way. He goes, yeah, guys, good fortune, bad fortune, one never knows. Days passed, and now the next stage is like they got to break them in because they're like wild horses. They got to teach them, to make them into working horses. And there was a journey for them that nobody was, ready for. So this young man started with the alpha, with the first horse, and had all sorts of being thrown off the seat and all those things, while teaching this horse how to behave and what they want from him. A few days later, one of those rides, one of those training sessions, let's call them, rather than breaking it in, I think that's the actual term for the breaking in the horse is the term. And he falls off the horse. I don't know if you know this fact. I was told that no horse will ever step on you on the ground. Like they'll do whatever maneuver not to step on you. So if they do, it's a freak accident, that kind of thing. So that's exactly what happened. The kid fell down. Horse jammed his knee, but like smashed it, like really proper damage, and there was a freak accident. Now, guess what neighbors did? That horse. We knew from beginning, bad fortune. Look because his son is now kind of crippled, or should I say disabled on some level. Which woman will want him now? He'll never walk straight, that kind of stuff. Obviously, the old man, you can guess it by now, he goes, good fortune, bad fortune, one never knows. Months passed. Months. War happened in the country. Soldiers came, and they took every fitting man for war, and they take them with them. They left this one because he's not fit for fight. Devastated neighbors lost their sons. Who knows if they'll ever see them again? They come to the old man. They do like that horse of yours. From beginning, we knew good fortune. We don't even know if we're going to see our son again. But your son is here. I mean, but you get to grow old with your kid for sure, kind of thing, And the old man, what did he say? Good fortune, bad fortune. One never knows. Now, I could go on. I could tell you like 3 more hours of the same story. You get to this understanding kicks in, at least it did for me, that in life, we are simply never in the position to label something for event in our life good or bad. I guess until the last breath I take, I'm just not in position to tell you the real effects of this. Me being fired, remember the horrible event? Great event in retrospect. So in the moment of event happening, me seeing it bad is just too soon of a judgment because I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. So that gave me this attitude in life to just whatever happens, I go, hey, like this optimistic phrase we used to laugh at, like who knows why this is good for me? Like that kind of thing. It's really better choice than me pretending to know everything there is to know, pretending to know the lasting effects of this thing in a negative manner and fueling myself with this negative energy, torturing myself really, when I really just don't know. So a bit long way of answering your question. For me, because of that, there is just no event that I will go like, oh my God, I've seen this and I wish it never happened. Mind you, same is true for traumas, for people who's been through some really crazy events. It's only that way while the charge is there. What makes something a problem for us or a trauma in life, it's that negative charge, that unprocessed negative emotion. We release the emotion, what's left? Just data. New meaning kicks in.
It's a lesson.
Yeah, and with our students, that's why it's so important in the room. When it comes to day 10 and they're feeling elated, they've let go of everything, they're their new selves, they're feeling on top of the world. And we teach them how to keep the change, because they can step foot out. They don't have their problems, old problems anymore, but they can recreate any problems they want. They have free will, right? And we talk about this. We can't pretend to know what's best for us. You have to remember we cannot pretend to know what's best for us. You're in a 1 hour traffic. How do you keep your peace? How are you not stressing? Maybe if there was no, who knows, I could have ended up in the hospital if I went that way. I might have had an accident. We can't pretend to know what's best. And if you buy into that spiritual concept of life is happening for you at all times, then how can one really regret anything? It's happening for you.
It's happening for you, and that's what needs to have a shift. Coming to the next question on that front, for how much of what you do is about breaking down trauma, and how often do you feel like saying, you're not crazy, you're just human?
Technically speaking, I think 90% of what we do, like technically, is releasing the charge. It's a very simple formula. For somebody to have a problem, any problem whatsoever, there's a formula. What is a problem? Problem equals what? Here's a formula. A thought, or I can say differently, my situation in life, my circumstance in my life, my past memory, whatever you want to call it, it's a thought, right? It's made of thought. So a thought plus negative charge, negative emotion equals problem. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Okay, so it's very simple to understand that if I remove the negative emotion, if we resolve it, if we release it, if negative charge is gone, what's left? Just a thought.
Data, you said, yeah.
No problem, just a thought. I understand that we live in this world of thought. Our entire reality is made of thought. You don't get to experience your circumstances, your situations in life directly.
Remember how I said nobody's talking about nature of thought, and I think that's what Robert does very differently. It's very unique in his course. What are emotions?
You don't get to experience the world outside of you directly.
Yeah.
You're experiencing it through your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's informed by your past conditioning and those things, but it's the thinking that makes it so.
It's the biggest form of addiction, thinking. Life happens in that space between the thoughts, whilst we're programmed to keep thinking the next thought, then the next thought, the next thought. For example, when you take a shower in the morning, most of the people are planning their day, or what they're going to say to their boss, or their kid, or their husband. Why not be present in the moment and allow the water
And experiencing the shower.
experience the shower? And that's the smallest thing you can do. More often than not, when I go through my life and where I've come to in my spiritual journey, I'm talking to you, I'm listening to you, but my awareness is on my breathing throughout the process. It doesn't allow me to judge because my awareness is towards my breathing. And that's why I maintain a meditative state to feel like, okay, I'm here. He's wearing this black t-shirt. He's talking what he has to say, but I'm present in the moment. I'm respecting the energy that you're giving in and respecting my own energy in that process. Whereas most people are scared to do that. They're afraid to not think because that's when they'll have to face the demons. You must have tried this. You have a course of meditation. People don't know how to meditate, or they feel uncomfortable focusing on their breathing. They're like, this is weird. I'm like, that's who you are. That is you, the awareness. So if you're having a bad thought, a negative charge of an emotion, bring your awareness to your breathing. Do it for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, and then see that.
Yeah, your whole nervous system.
The charge is gone. The nervous system is calmed down.
Charge is gone. However, that limiting the belief or something that was causing, or the trauma that was causing the charge in the first place, may still be there and
100%.
cause a subsequent event. And that's where he comes in with like.
Correct. Correct. That's beautifully done, because for most people, they look at it's like liking a self-help quote on Instagram, and then going back to your own traumatic ways. That's where the problem is. There's more human doing, less being human. And that's where, that's what Rise was about as well. Taking people on the journey to say, nothing needs to be fixed. You're not broken. Your thoughts, you're not insecure. Your thoughts are. That's implanted. None of it is actually truly you. And that's where the gift, where Robert comes in, to be able to see people for their higher self, to say, okay, I see where you are because I was there and I can guide you. If you allow me to, if you're ready to. But most people...
It's not even just that, there's another deeper layer there. Let's say there's a room of people in front of me and, humans. Here comes some problems, some dramas, some pain. So one gets the mic and maybe shares something, what's happening with them. And let's say it's one of those deeply moving stories, somebody, for anybody caring, that's not a nice story, right? So half of the room, if not more, they all lean in, they all want to get up and hug this person, poor thing, okay? Or whatever is going on in their heads and it's malfunction of some sort, they're not enjoying themselves. Everybody sees them as broken. This judgment happens so quickly as if they see a person who has a problem. It seems like I don't. I see somebody suffering. Now, this might sound very weird, but I'll say it anyway. I'm almost like thinking, oh, that looks exciting. And they go, no, you asshole, it's not exciting, it's not fun. I'm like, why are you doing it then? Because in my own mind, I don't see a broken human being. They're having thoughts. They're feeling, they're thinking. And I'm assuming they're enjoying themselves. If you don't, why you're doing it? If you know what I mean. Now, it's very simplistic and very easy to judge me now, okay? But the idea is that I just don't see a problem. And it's my job, because it's exciting for me, to bring this awareness, to bring the education that for you to realize that it's just your thinking. Beautiful example. Client says, I'm depressed. And mine is a very heavy thought, that one. And I'm like, no, you're not. They go, what? It's a very weird response. I'm no, you're not. You just think you are. They go, huh? I am not good enough. No. You just think that. And we can do this for a while until it kicks in and they go, my world is made of, so I'm making this up. Because there is a world of a difference. Let me give you an example. I think you like it. If you would humor me, okay? Can you do what I do? Can you just mimic me? Can you do this? This is fun. Okay? I'm making some sounds, just make a little bit of sound. Now, how does it feel? It's kind of weird, like, why am I doing this? Okay? All right? Now, remember how that experience was, all right? Now, how did you feel? You'll tell me whatever you say. But if she gets up now and does the same thing to you, would it feel different? Mind you, same tempo, same pressure, no difference in nature, but somebody else doing it to you, how would that feel? Would it feel different?
Yes.
Big difference. It's not me, somebody else is doing it to me.
Correct.
Can I give you even worse kind of form of this? Let's say you're feeling the same thing. Again, same tempo, same pressure, but you don't see who's doing it. Would it freak you out more than if she was doing it?
Yes.
It's even freakier when you don't know who is doing this to you. I find that it's a beautiful blessing for us when we get this kind of education to realize it's not this invisible force doing it to me, and it's not him or her or that one doing it to me. I am creating this through the quality of thinking that I'm applying right now. I am doing this. Can you draw a really scary boogeyman on a piece of paper? You could scare some kid, you could scare some adult with it. Can you be scared of it?
Because I drew it?
You drew it, you can't. There is magic in that understanding where you go like, wait a minute, I'm creating this through my thinking. I'm living in the feeling of my thinking. Obviously, what follows is understanding deeper what are emotions in the first place, but that's a topic.
Yeah, no, of course. And you know, the point of having these kind of podcasts is to understand different views, different journeys. I have my own, on a lot of things, and I think there have been a lot of limited beliefs in my past that I've let go of. And, when you reach a certain level of enlightenment, you live in the 5D state, where time, as you said, doesn't really make sense. Because there is no such thing as time. That's another aspect of Rise, which is surrendering to the timing of the universe, rather than the expensive, amazing watches we wear. For a lot of people, it's like, yeah, divine timing, but when is it happening? The moment you let go.
Tending to know what's best for them.
Exactly. The moment you let go is when you allow divine timing to do its bit. And that's, that's important.
But you say to them, to those people, they got surrender. For some of them, it's the scariest thought out there.
Yeah, true. But
giving up control.
The meaning of surrender is understood wrong. And I think we live in an upside down.
What is it for you? What is the
For me, surrendering is to allow and accept the messy, authentic truth of who you are. It's to allow life to happen as it is, where you don't judge situations for what they are. As you said, there's a point of our awareness, right? Where we start with, this is happening to me, then this is happening for me, then this is happening through me.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the level of awareness that we get to based on experiences and things that happen in our life. For me, surrendering is hugging the cactus, not running away from it. It's about sitting with the demon saying, hey guys, how's it going? I know that you've tried your best to dominate my control, but I know that I only allow what I take in because I'm the awareness. I'm not going to react. I'm going to respond to a situation, remove that energetic charge. And whatever happens, like a lot of people know this, but when I was hosting Rise, a lot of people didn't want me to do this event. Because when you think about it, I'm breaking through so many patterns, limited thoughts of people thinking, who is this guy coming in, stepping into the wellness field, coming up with this know-it-all attitude, trying to now lead all motivational speakers, inspirational talks, healers, all these things together, and doing it effortlessly. Like there is not a change in his thinking. He's got this toxic positive thinking. And I'm like, no, it's not toxic. It's not toxic positivity. It's whatever has to happen will happen. And I know that I'm not in control because now this is happening through me. And if you're going to stop me, you're coming in between what the divine has instructed to do, and let's see how that comes through. So I experienced a lot of etheric, esoterical things at that point in my body, in my being when that was happening, to know that I know this is going to happen. You can try to stop it. And that's when that thought of just surrender. God, if you've got me this far, or universe, whatever we call it, then it can't be for nothing. And since I did that, life, it taught me how to surrender. Just do your best and let God do the rest.
Follow your excitement.
Yeah, and that's where it came down to, whereas people were like, oh, this is not that great an event. Yeah, I did an event. What are you doing with your life? Maybe if you focus less on what's happening in my life, you can focus on what's happening in yours. And it didn't come from a place of being petty. It came from a place of compassion. It came from a place of, if you only go within and understand how pure and beautiful that innocence is, get rid of the gunk of the egoic construct and get down to the soul, you'll realize what it is. I've been called a narcissist in the process. I'm like, I am exactly who you want me to be. Exactly. And that is surrender. You think I'm a flirt? I'm a flirt. You think I'm a narcissist? I'm a narcissist. You think I'm an angel? I'm an angel to you. And that's the thing. What we put meaning to people is what they show up as in our life. The moment we start to let go of the meaning, you surrender. So like when I started doing my podcasts, I don't know where this is going. But the moment I'm done with one guest, I get another guest. I get another guest. And that's just happening because I've surrendered. I'm allowing the universe to now take control. I'm not going to get into that petty nature of, or anxiety of, where is this headed? Where is this going? I don't know. I'm just doing service and whatever comes from it. And the same thing goes with when the podcast comes out. People are like, oh, have you got sponsorship for this? I'm like, I'm not doing this for the sponsorship. I'm doing this to get the message out there. And maybe people won't hear it today. Maybe not 5 years from now. Maybe 10 years. They will hear it. Whatever's on the internet remains forever, right?
Yeah.
So whoever is attracted to it and needs it is going to follow the light whenever they come through. And so far, it's been working out well. And, it makes amazing changes in our physiological being as well. Less lines, less dark circles, or whatever. I mean, I go through my own moments like, I'm not enough. We all go through it. That's just the programming. Like, think about it this way. If I gave you a compliment 10 years ago, you may not have remembered it, but if I insulted you 10 years ago,
You remember it.
you remember that. And is that you though? No, it's the programming. It's why we relate ourselves to being small. If you think you're limitless, I remember every single thing someone says to me, good or bad. Someone taught me a lesson 10 years ago, I remember it. Because I've realized that I have always been in that state of being in awareness, being limitless, doing and dancing to the beat of my own drum, which has triggered people throughout my life,
mellow.
right? And that's the journey, and I'm okay. I'm like, okay, if that's what I'm meant to do, trigger people, great. I'm not going to go out of my way to say, hey, by the way, no. Me being me is triggering you means that something needs to be looked at. You become a mirror for people, and I think that's exactly what this is. Yes, you said amazingly well that you see my shoes, my shirt, whatever, but I'm a silhouette. It's what the mind is labeling
The
it.
meaning happens within the observer. The beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Correct. Robert, you've helped thousands of people in your journey.
Just a few.
Just a few thousand people. How do you help people reach their full potential without being too hard on themselves, without sounding like a cheesy line from a motivational poster?
To me, this is the beautiful part of what I don't do. I've never been a motivational speaker. For me, motivational speakers are awesome and they have their purpose. It inspires them to do it, touch people's hearts, inspire them. I found that motivation that results from there is not sustainable because the root cause of one's motivation was the speaker. He left the building same afternoon, so root cause goes with it. I find that the only motivation that's actually useful is when it comes from within. Okay, so me showing up in people's lives, the last label I would like is, here's my motivational speaker, because I don't want to do that. I would love to rather help you reconnect with your true self, help you become who you weren't, and get in touch with that inner you. Because I find that when motivation comes from that place, everything is different. You don't get to be hard on yourself. You don't get to motivate yourself to do this thing. Because when we're playing games, it's effortless, right? Look at kid playing a game whole night. He doesn't complain tomorrow. He'll do it again. So for me, the key to this is to ideally self-realize who you actually are, where we come from, what our essence actually is. And then it feeds into this whole conversation. I just keep seeing links in all of this, what you were saying just now. For me, emotions are that thing that's supposed to guide us, not punish us, to guide us. As we said earlier on, it's designed, the purpose of emotions, chemicals created in our own brain. You can't make me feel sadness. You can't make me feel stuff. You're not giving me chemicals. My brain creates them.
Its own, by the way, to interrupt you for 1 second, because it's so important, we can go back to it, but nobody else can make you feel somebody else. He hurt me, she hurt me, they did this. Doesn't exist. Neuroscientifically, that's a word. It's not possible. You can only ever feel your own thinking.
So motivation or any other emotion is there when the right boxes are ticked within the system. You have your own passions, you have your own excitement. Somebody would think, he's wasting his time here in some studio, go on a beach. Beach is their excitement, yours is something else. I find that, when we were told, even from Roxette, listen to your heart, or any other ancient wisdom passed down, it's all telling us the same thing. To be in the heart, to listen to our hearts. And our true self is guiding us through emotions, telling us when our thinking is on the right path and when it isn't. So for me, if you need to self-motivate yourself, if you need to beat yourself up to achieve something, you're on the wrong path. For me, as Carlos Castaneda said in one of his books, pick a path that has a heart. Be on a path that energizes you. Be on a path that stimulates you, inspires you, motivates you. When you automatically end up in states of joy, pleasure, passion, this is the key. That cannot be given, that comes from within. As Rumi would say, maybe, your job is not to seek for love. It's to overcome the obstacles you built, and by built I mean adopted, remember environment, inherited, adopted over time, that doesn't let you experience it. So for me, always back to what we actually do, resolving those things, those obstacles, for you to go back to your default setting. From there, it's easy to be, maybe a beautiful term is childlike, not childish. Childlike.
Innocence.
Look at kids, man. I get goosebumps every time I have this picture, a baby, their eyes, like, and that their laughter, that frequency is different. What happened? We were all this. What happened with us? So for me, there's no point in being hard on yourself. There's no point in me telling you what to do. A major misconception in terms of life coaching, people think I'll give you life advice. I'm like, I don't give any advices. They go, what? I don't have an advice for you. I have some knowledge, some scientific stuff. It really helps me pass the message if I can back it up with science. But I don't have a general advice other than pick a path that has a heart. And you go, I'd love to, but I can't. Great, I help them overcome those things, then they can. So it's effortless when it comes from that place.
Can I add something to what you were saying about people being hard on themselves and what he does in that situation? Because I think, imagine, like, say me sitting on day 2 in the room and I realized that I created everything in my life. All those people that I was blaming and was thinking, that's such a big moment. You realize you created everything. How can one, not be hard on themselves in that moment? Like, what was wrong with me? My whole life could have been different. But then he's also teaching neuroscience, and everybody is doing the best they can in the state that they're in with the resources they have available. So he throws the truth bomb, but then he creates this very forgiving, self-forgiving environment and teaches you the science to back it up. Every single person is doing the best they can in the state they're in with the resources they have available. And I think when you really embody that, it's like, suddenly everything dissolves. Like, you don't even feel any resentment, hatred towards anyone. They were all doing the best they can, and so was I. So I think when people are being very hard on themselves, I love that part of the training when you hit them with that.
Yeah, because we give them the empowerment so they understand that I created all this in my life somehow. Consciously, unconsciously, it's here for me. It's my creation. It's a very big burden to carry if you come from that place of blame. So it's me to blame. It's a very hard thing to consider accepting, never mind accept. So not to go there, I also tell them another truth. You were a baby, no clue what pencil is. So you learned everything. From that perspective, the you today, you're a product of your environment. You couldn't become anything else other than what your environment made you to be. If you grew up in a village in that side of the world, you have completely different characteristics, model of the world, relationships with everything, with self, with death, with different model of the world in a village on the other side of the world. So it's not your fault. It's not you to blame. You're a product of your environment. Right. Then we wake up, like you mentioned. We have this moment of, some level of awakening, and we go, well, now that I'm aware of this, do I have any say? Can I become bigger than my environment? And that's where
it's a choice and accountability.
And that's words, right? But just to paint a picture of the power of those words, I have someone who's very, very close to me who is suicidal. Okay, there was lots of addiction, trauma everywhere, and they were literally suicidal, fully depressed, thinking that they weren't worthy. Their body is not working. Everything's off base. They're a failure. Okay, screw up. And I put them in touch with an RS Method coach. You're not the best match as a coach if you're very closely involved with somebody, right? So I put them onto an RS Method coach, and this coach said one line that saved this person's life. They still talk about it today. There was one line, and the coach told them, there's nothing wrong with you. Your body's actually working perfectly. It's actually it's giving you all the emotions and feedback to show that you're off your path with a heart, and you're doing the best you can in the state you're in. Those two lines saved his life. So that's the power of it in reality, I
think sometimes we just have to look at ourselves, that just admit that you're a bit of a mess, and that's okay. When you're a child and the child comes, lathered with dirt on themselves, the biggest mistake that parents make is like, oh, you got dirty. You just took the innocence away from that child to be able to be curious again.
Again, judgment label.
Judgment label. So as a child, we weren't that. And I think judgment and egoic construct or learning is very heavy. Wisdom is light as a feather. And I think the journey of our life is to be innocent as a child, but have the wisdom to navigate this thing we call life, rather than...
And where do you get wisdom from?
I think that comes from the soul. It comes from understanding who truly your essence.
Now, obviously, you're speaking from your perspective, a little bit enlightened perspective, where majority of the world is when they speak of intelligence. The only intelligence they're referring to is this, IQ, intelligence, not realizing where that comes from. You see, that form of intelligence comes from our memories.
Right. Unconditioned intelligence is...
If I wipe, and I don't do this, but if I wipe, don't apply. If I wipe all your memories out, how intelligent are you? You would literally not know what watch is. You wouldn't know what shoelaces are. You wouldn't know your name. You wouldn't know you would have no clue about anything. You wouldn't be very intelligent, we would say, right? If you lost all your memories. So our traditional relationship with intelligence is basically coming from our memories, our experience of life. I lived my life that way for most of it. And then I woke up one day and I realized that I don't know what I don't know. And me walking around consciously pretending that I know everything there is to know about this topic because of my vast experience of this life is nothing in comparison to the experience of life itself or nature.
The more you know, the less you do.
Yeah, bro. So I shifted, and it wasn't an easy one necessarily, but I shifted and I literally abandoned my intelligence. In other words, I know what I know, but what's bigger than that is I don't know what I don't know. So I show up not pretending that I know, and I go, hey, I show up as a student. I show up in a learning mode. And what I've done is I leaned into that other intelligence that's available to all of us. We made of it. But we are usually ignoring that, not listening for it, not relating to it. We are stuck in our conscious mind's intelligence. For me, the intelligence behind life itself, the intelligence that designed this thing. Because once upon a time, I was a little speck, microscopic speck. Not conscious mind didn't exist there. So who had the intelligence to build from one speck to cells and multiply them and create a spine and the whole thing, and for me to become this human body? Which intelligence did I use? Well, I didn't use intelligence. It was this nature, whatever you want to refer to it, right? So for me, when I learned that thing is intelligent, I realized that it's far vaster than my conscious mind's knowing. I literally leaned into it, and now I'm like, hey, use me, talk to me. And it's talking to me through all sorts of things, one of them being emotions. Emotions are literally feedback mechanism, built-in feedback, like a GPS. Built-in GPS mechanism for me to know in any moment in time, wherever I find myself in the world, in any moment, to know how I'm doing. People want to have a coach, so they see them once a week, once a month, get some feedback, improve. This is a built-in coach, built by Mother Nature, 24/7, never sleeps, giving you instant feedback to the quality of your thinking. Because for me, emotions are really just a feedback mechanism to the quality of my thinking in this moment. So when I have those anxious thoughts, when I have some dark thinking, it gives me negative emotion. Call it like, ouch, I translate. This is what fear is. Ouch, stop thinking this way. It hurts. When I get positive emotions, inspiring ones, juicy ones, life-enabling ones, it's telling me, dude, keep going. You're on the path that resonates with who you really are. So for me, when I abandoned the knowing and went into, hey, tell me, guide me, which path do I take? And I started listening to my heart, listening to my emotions. It's in different words, but you're reflecting that.
It's the same thing, I think, but people are also afraid of embracing that dark side. They judge the dark side. If you judge your dark side, you're living half an existence.
That's like not me.
Exactly, but it is you. We're made as the yin and the yang. But a lot of people are running away from it, and they want to do everything in their capacity to not sit with those demons.
Or to sit with themselves, their mind demons.
It's changing a bit, though. I feel like people are really stepping into the consciousness,
they are
becoming
definitely
more aware.
Definitely. I think, look at, say, for example, the UAE government. Now they've invested into mental health. I think hundreds of millions of dollars worth.
Minister of Happiness also.
Exactly, to help. And that's the other thing. Positive thinking is important, so is the negative. It's the charge that we associate to it, or we get stuck in it.
Shows us where we have work
Right?
to do.
Pain is an experience, as the child feels it in the moment, and then eventually it goes away. But then suffering is a choice. That's the choice, and that's what. Let's come to you now, because I know a lot of women that I have helped and that follow me on my social media as well, that are constantly living in that state of either being a victim of things that have happened in their life, feeling that they don't have a choice to make a decision, but that's also because of what's been told to them, right? Now, on your own journey, man or woman now, we've all battled with sense of self-worth. That's just what the programming has been, or loving ourselves in the process. From going to that dark space that you were in, which I know a lot of people watching are probably in right now, especially women, what's the one advice you could give to those women to how to break through those limited beliefs that they have about themselves, to embrace?
Can you be a little bit more specific on what they're experiencing? Like, are you talking about looking for worth outside of themselves in their relationships specifically?
Seeking external validation. Now, it could start from, the society's programmed them as such, right?
Yeah.
Look at any dating website or app.
Yeah, absolutely. The minute you know the guy, you see this all the time. The guy's generally never good enough, He stopped paying attention to me, doesn't take me for dates anymore. It's always like there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. And it's not just that it's not enough. Okay, you could walk away. They stay, right? And why can't they put their boundaries down? Why can't they say, okay, this person is not a match for me, I'm going to walk away? And I think it's because they're constantly looking for that self-worth that they know is somewhere inside them, but they became disconnected from it. They're looking for it in that partner. So when he is busy and doesn't show them enough attention, that pain that they're feeling, it's like it's their own lack of self-worth that they're looking for in someone else. It doesn't feel nice when he's not reflecting back to me my worth, but they're still looking for it outside. So I think along their way, on their journey, when it's a little bit of cause and effect, also stepping out of the victimhood and being responsible for everything, Okay, it's my job to communicate to that person, and if things can't change, then I need to walk away and find a match for me. But if you're staying in a situation that's giving you, your heart's telling you that this is not a match for you, and you're still staying, question yourself why. And I think awareness, what is consciousness? It's awareness, right? So just becoming aware of that, I think, would be the first step for anybody. Why is this charging me? Do I love him? Is he amazing? Did he just get busy? Why is it charging me? Or is he really not a match and I need to wait? If I can't walk away, why can't I? So it's just having the awareness and starting to observe your patterns. Any negative charge comes from ourselves. If we are feeling a negative charge or emotion, it's our own stuff to resolve. It's nothing to do with that person. And there's a lot of blame when I think someone hasn't got that awareness yet. Now, they might have a lot of no, but in that awareness comes their peace. So, instead of resisting that awareness, go towards it and look within yourself. Everything that you're looking for outside is within yourself. You've attracted that person into your life. It's energy. How did they get there? It wasn't a freak accident. You were attracted to them. Why? There's a lesson for you to learn there. That's why they've come to you. And then things start becoming fun. You learn that lesson, you move on, you create an amazing relationship, you're enjoying life. You got over that pattern. It doesn't need to keep showing up. The minute I learned that, I chose a very painful path. But when you really learn that, it's not that person is doing the best they can in the state they're in. That man that's letting you down, is doing the best he can in the state that he's in with the resources he has available. The way he's acting really has nothing to do with you. It's to do with him and his conditioning. He's acting from his conditioning. So it's nothing to do with you.
And it's your choice whether you'd like to stick to that. But the other thing is the lack mindset is like a virus in the society where people are afraid of abundance. And every time you say abundance, they're like, oh, money. Abundance comes in every aspect of life. Opportunities, love, connections, people, a community. And then you find things that happen. If you're caught up in your head and in a negative state of thinking, I'd be like, for example, when we connected, why are they connecting with me? What is it that they want from me now? Or, okay, hold on a second. abundance way of thinking is you never know where this leads.
One never knows.
One never
Chinese man.
knows, right? And that's the state of being in abundance, being that state of being curious,
Yes.
right? And I think that mentality of saying, oh, he's letting me down. Okay, then why are you there? As Robert said, you must really enjoy that, don't you? And that's what we really want to help people break out of, because the way it's programmed in society is teach men not to be masculine, teach women how to disconnect with their spiritual essence. So let's see how the circus then unfolds. And that's the current state. And what you do with what amazing modalities that you all follow, the training that you follow, is to help people feel whole within.
And looking for patterns.
Looking for patterns
is amazing for women in that situation that you were saying. What would I say to them? Because they're blaming that one person in that moment. And is there a history of this for you? And they'll be very open. They openly say, yeah, it keeps happening with everybody. And in that, there's a realization. Okay, so maybe it's not him. Maybe it came from you, And it's not to say, okay, sometimes their partner can do things very undesirable for them. So I'm not taking away. Some people do things, okay, they're in an abusive relationship, for example. Okay, I'm not saying, it was all from his conditioning and you should forgive everything. No, but do what feels right in your heart. And some people aren't strong enough to walk away, and that's another thing. They beat themselves up about that. But I know everything, but why can't I leave? And when you're ready, you will. Life will keep happening for you until you keep getting the realizations, the strength. You might come up, for me, it was like, a breathwork session and finding myself in Robert's room. So something will come along the way. Awareness is first.
Manifestations happen all the time, right? Sometimes we just don't like what we're manifesting.
You mentioned abundance. Yes. It's like, I want to learn. We should do a workshop on abundance. I'm like, dude, it's your nature. It's your birthright. You are abundant. The fact that you're abundant in problems doesn't mean you're not abundant. You're creating something that you don't prefer, and you don't see it as abundance. Yeah. Right? This topic you guys just covered, for me, one step behind it. I'm always looking for the root cause of the problem. It's one thing, hey, be aware, going within. If they go within, looking for blame, it's a problem, So just understanding that's usually missing, that I wish it was taught to us in primary schools. How we create our perception, how our perceived reality is even formed in our heads. You get that, you'll realize that it came from your beliefs. There's more, we call it conditioning, but let's just say for the conversation, beliefs. You cannot be in that relationship. That can't be happening in this universe if it wasn't a perfect match for you. Yeah. By perfect match, I mean his belief system, your belief system, synchronicity, perfect in nature. What you are getting out of this relationship is your stuff. What they are getting is their stuff, depending from your beliefs. So if you don't change beliefs around this, you'll keep creating the same thing.
They can understand it all they want, but try having a different result without doing the techniques to release the limiting belief that I'm not worthy, for example. So that was a massive help.
We've all done it from childhood, I think. I don't know, some dating and stuff, and then you pick the wrong one, and then you suffer, and then you get a new one, and you suffer, and then on the third one or whatever, you go, why do I keep picking the wrong ones, right? There is this perpetuating pattern that unless you learn the lesson, unless you overcome that thing within you, it keeps happening until we learn.
Yeah, and it's a blessing. It's an absolute blessing. My hardest times in my entire life were my biggest blessings, because the most enlightened, I'm not saying, I'm enlightened, the most awakening came from the hardest times. And saying that, like we always say, suffering's not necessary for awakening. Also from all the teaching in Robert's room, it can be the smallest thing. Life is happening for you or through you. We can't pretend to know what's best for us. And then there's tools and techniques these days to clean up these limiting beliefs and to reconnect you with who you are in your essence, that infinite abundance,
This is amazing. Our time is actually up, but what's best part about this is the flow of the conversation that we're having. I'm sure that there are going to be moments for us to possibly have some form of collaboration in what I do and what you all do. So I would like to end this with thanking both of you for helping heal the society by not just teaching people, but embodying the same things that you all say. So looking forward for this to come out and see what comes of it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.